When it comes to what your family eats and drinks, you know your choices matter. You're the expert because you know what fits your life. And getting it right starts with good information. That's why America's beverage companies are sharing more information about our ingredients at goodtoknowfacts.org. No spin, no judgments, just the facts straight from the experts for more than 140 beverage ingredients. Visit goodtoknowfacts.org.
This episode is brought to you by Marshalls, where you never have to compromise between quality and price. The buyers at Marshalls hustle hard, working to bring you great deals on brand name and designer pieces. Because Marshalls believes everyone deserves access to the good stuff. Visit a Marshalls store near you or shop online at marshalls.com.
We're here because your heightened awareness deserves heightened entertainment. The Last Show with David Cooper.
Everyone seems to talk about AI like it's everywhere. I'm guilty of doing it on this show. Things like AI taking our jobs, writing our essays, maybe plotting world domination. But what if hardly anyone is actually using it? And the ones who do, they might score higher on narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. I said one of those words wrong. But if you use AI, you might have dark personality traits. Well, that's exactly what a new study reveals. I'm here with someone who worked on that study. His name is Dr. David Markowitz. He's a professor in the Department of Communication at Michigan State University. Dave, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me again. It's a pleasure being back.
I have used AI to help with emails, maybe summarize an academic paper I don't understand about AI, so I can talk about it on this show.
Possibly even writing intros to your shows, maybe. Who knows?
Maybe. Or maybe I use them and then I tweak them a bit to make them sound like I wrote them.
Exactly right.
Who's really cheating? The question, though.
Yep.
What does that say about me? And are people really not using AI as much as we think?
Yeah, so let me tell you a little bit about a study that we published a few weeks ago. So we collected a ton of web browsing histories from students and also the general public. They voluntarily gave us their web browsing histories for up to about 90 days. These are all Google Chrome users. And we looked at what percentage of their website histories on average were related to AI. And turned out to be 1% of student web browsing histories is related to AI. Now, the interesting thing is I just gave a talk on this paper a few days ago. And folks, I asked in the beginning of the audience, what percentage of all websites do you think students are going to be using AI with? And some are going to say 80% or 50%. And often we have a different perception of what AI use really is compared to what it actually is. And it turns out that it might be more infrequent than we actually think.
Wow, so maybe the world's not going to end in 5 minutes and it's going to take all our jobs and every student is cheating and academia is destroyed and everything's gone to you-know-what.
Well, I don't know if I'd go so far as to that. I just listened to a kind of a doom and gloom podcast episode, a different podcast, about some of the real concerns about AI, especially when AI is linked to a bunch of servers that will allow people to basically have AI talk to each other and large language models build off of each other.
Yes.
Especially when it's unadulterated and no guardrails. I think that could be a real dystopian world. But for now, we're just talking about student web use and also general public web use. And we found that it's relatively infrequent, but still a meaningful percentage of what people are actually doing online.
Well, you didn't rely on surveys. You actually analyzed, web browsing data, which is really cool to me. Why does that give us a better insight than what students are just saying when they fill out a survey?
Yeah, it's actual behavior. So there's a lot of reasons why people do self-reports. They're a lot easier to administer. And it's very familiar for participants, but we didn't want to rely on that. We wanted to go into the world and see what people were actually doing in terms of their web browsing history. Now, one other thing that we also had here, which I think was a really cool insight, is we correlated how often people used AI, their behavior, and we correlated their self-report use of AI. So how well do our perceptions match the actual behavior? And they were only moderately correlated. If you know what correlation coefficients are, it's about 0.3. Which is not super high, but still meaningful, but not super high.
I've spoken to friends who are professors. We have some people who come on the show regularly who are professors, and they are complaining that students are generating essays using AI. It's a mess.
Yep.
Does your study reveal that things might not be as bad as they feel to certain professors, that academia is not doomed because of ChatGPT?
So I definitely think that there is reason for concern, obviously, based on how people use it. Not necessarily the frequency, at least from our paper. It's not like 50% of web browsing history was AI related. But what we did look at in the study was what were people doing before and after their AI use. And really what was quite telling was after AI use, it was really instrumental in terms of what people were completing. So they were very task-oriented. So they were completing their homework, basically. So indeed, a lot of the things that students were doing were matching the concerns or perceptions that professors often had.
Oh boy.
Now, just a small caveat here. This is not an unreasonable behavior, right? If you had a tutor that was at your hands or at your fingertips at any time, why would you not take access and use that tutor, right? There is a concern of the degree to which students are actually internalizing that information and developing critical thinking, but that's a conversation for another day.
All right, I kind of buried the lead here. We talked about the mechanics, who's using it, but anytime I see any research that involves the dark personality traits, I got to know more about that. So what kind of students and what are their personality traits that are actually using AI all the time?
Yeah, so we found a systematic link between dark triad traits, which are including Machiavellianism, psychopathy, and narcissism. These are things that people typically are calling aversive personality traits, not the ones that people love to talk about, but they still exist in almost every single one of us. And we found links largely between all of these in the student group and AI use. The strongest one was largely between psychopathy and also between narcissism and AI use.
Interesting. I think we associate AI use, especially in a workplace, and not telling people about it with a little bit of, it's subversive. It's bad. You shouldn't do that. You're cheating. Like, you should be writing this work email on your own. Do you think that's the reason? Because it's kind of stigmatized. So people who are a little bit more having these dark triad traits are likely to do it because they're willing to be stigmatized. They don't care.
Yeah, so it's interesting. We don't really know the causal direction here. We don't know if, let's say, psychopaths use AI more, or those who use AI more are more likely to be high on psychopathy. We don't know the sort of the directionality, I'd say. But I think what's really important is to just know that the link is there, right? To know that there is this link between aversive personality traits for at least the student population and AI use as an indicator of trying to understand who is using these tools on average.
So anyone listening right now, if they use AI a lot, should they be thinking, man, I got to go to talk therapy? Like, what would be a takeaway? Should I use it less to become less psychopathic?
Not necessarily, right? Because we're not really thinking this is causal. But at the same time, while the links were systematic, they were not overwhelmingly so where we might suggest, wow, this is above and beyond anything else that could be going on in the social and psychological systems for people. We measured largely what are called individual differences, these enduring psychological traits like personality and dark personality traits. It's possible that there are other things that might be more robustly related to AI use, but we didn't measure them in this study, and that's where future work comes in.
After doing this research, do you find yourself questioning your own AI habits, like thinking about how you use it differently?
If I were to be self-reflective, I think the way that I've really contextualized this study is to think that a lot of the perceptions we have about not only how often technology is used, but how it's used might be different than the way technology actually is used. And that sort of difference between what we think and what actually exists in the world is a really stark difference, right? Our cognitive systems do a lot of heavy lifting for us often, and what we need to be thinking about is measuring behavior out in the wild. So if it's changing my AI behavior at all, what I think it's doing, it's making me think more intentionally about how I'm using it and what I'm using it for.
And given that students are a group you would think would use it more, they're younger, they're around computers a lot, and they aren't using it as much as we think, do you think the average person should be a little less worried about AI, I don't know, coming for their job or something like that? Or is that conclusion a bit of a stretch?
I think this space is moving so fast. And there's so many resources behind it that maybe we don't even know about, that I think it's really important to keep an eye on where this technology is going. Students are a very specific and unique, but also very limited population. So I wouldn't want to generalize too much beyond the sort of data that we have, just because, again, a new model or a new system could come out in the next 3 months and all of this can be completely upended. So it's a wait and see.
Well, Dr. David Markowitz is a professor in the Department of Communication at Michigan State University. Dave, I appreciate you coming on the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for your time.
Here we have the Limu Emu in its natural habitat, helping people customize their car insurance and save hundreds with Liberty Mutual. Fascinating. It's accompanied by his natural ally, Doug.
Limu? Is that guy with the binoculars watching us?
Cut the camera. They see us.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Savings vary. Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Excludes Massachusetts.